Based on so many of you telling me you're interested in the Roblox IPO, or to be more accurate, the Roblox direct listing, well, this video is for you. Today I'm taking a deeper look into the company as it prepares to go public. We'll look at the background of the company, its financials, details and data of the direct listing, a valuation analysis, and I'll share some of my own considerations I have for investing in the company that I've come up with. If you're ready to talk all things Roblox, you've come to the right place. Hey everyone, hope you're having a good week so far. I want to give a special shout out to everyone in the community who's been patiently waiting for this video, because if you've been with me for a while, you know this video has literally been months in the making, like 4 or 5 months. As you might remember, way back on our Thanksgiving week edition of IPO This Week, I previewed some of the biggest upcoming IPOs looking to round out the year. Companies that included Airbnb, DoorDash, Affirm, Roblox, and Wish. And in that video, I asked what company of those 5 were you most interested in hearing more about? Well, a lot of you said Roblox. So with me always trying to give the community what you want, this video is for you. Obviously, it's been a long road to get to this point, with the Roblox IPO being set, then postponed, then changed to a Roblox direct listing, then postponed again, until finally being back on. And if you're wondering what the difference is between a traditional IPO and a direct listing, no worries, I got you covered there. I just put out a video on that very topic last week. If you haven't seen it, I'll link it for you in the description. Now, for those of you here on the channel for the first time and wondering what it's all about, well, my name is Kevin, and I want to welcome you to Healthy, Wealthy, and Wise, where we talk a lot about the big and not so big companies going public, whether it's by traditional IPO, a SPAC, or direct listing. As part of that coverage, we have a weekly feature program called IPO This Week, where we talk about all the upcoming IPOs for that particular week. And then I also have some more educational type videos like the one I did on the direct listing I just mentioned. And then I also put together specific stock analysis videos for some of the companies that have more interest, like what we're doing here today for Roblox. But the big thing here is I'm not about telling you what to do or to hype any stock. My hope is to give you the information and then share some of my own thoughts for you to consider so that you can make the best decision for yourself. So for all of you new here, check out the video, and if you end up liking it, I hope you consider joining the community by subscribing. I'll touch base with you at the end. But for now, let's get to the Roblox IPO. Or I guess I should say Roblox direct listing. So we've had a lot of videos on Roblox already, so if you haven't seen them, I'll link a playlist in the description for you if you'd like to catch up. Please keep in mind that while my videos are meant to be informative, they should not be seen as a recommendation for you to take any action based on the information or the personal opinions I share. You should always do your own research or consult with your own financial advisor when making any investment decision. Got it? Got it. So let's start where it makes sense and go over the background of the company and what they do, and maybe more importantly, how they do it. As you get into the video, maybe you can let me know up front if you're interested in buying Roblox in the comments. And then afterwards, let me know what you thought about what I talked about and if you found the video helpful with another comment. Not trying to give you extra work, it just helps me learn how to make these videos more beneficial for you. So according to Roblox's IPO, the company's story began way back in 1989 when their founders programmed a two-dimensional simulated physics lab called Interactive Physics, which would serve as the foundation for Roblox. Students across the world use interactive physics to do things like seeing how 2 cars would crash or how they could build destructible houses. The evolution to starting Roblox began in 2004 as they took to expand on interactive physics on a much bigger scale by focusing on developing a level of human interaction that didn't exist at the time. Well, let's just say that their idea caught on. According to their filing, over 30 million people from around the world come to Roblox every day to connect with their friends. Together, they play and even learn, either alone or with friends, all in 3D digital worlds that are entirely user-generated, built by a community of nearly 7 million active developers. The platform draws inspiration from gaming, entertainment, social media, and even toys. As for some detail on the Roblox platform, it's composed of 3 elements. The first is the Roblox client, which is the application that allows users to explore 3D digital worlds. Second is the Roblox Studio, which is the toolset that allows developers and creators to build and operate 3D experiences and other content accessed with the Roblox client. And then finally, there's the Roblox Cloud, which is the infrastructure that allows users to experience the platform together with their friends. And those friends could be ones that they either know in person or just online. According to Roblox, growth has been driven primarily by a significant investment in technology, with that resulting in high-quality content that has a very social nature to it. And that social nature of pulling in their friends to play with them on the platform has led them to substantial user growth. For some statistics on that, Roblox's key metric of daily active users grew 47% from 2018 to 2019, and then another 85% in 2020. For some hard numbers, in 2019 they had just over 17 million daily active users, and then by the end of 2020, that number had grown to well over 32 million daily active users. And then diving deeper into those numbers, we see that the hours engaged on Roblox grew 45% from 9.4 billion hours in 2018 to 13.7 billion in 2019, and then more recently grew at a whopping 124% rate to reach 30.5 billion hours in 2020. So how it all comes together is when users sign up for Roblox, they can create an avatar and explore the majority of the game experiences for free, although the business model for any given game or experience is ultimately up to its developer. Most free experiences allow users to spend what they call Robux by purchasing experience-specific enhancements. Users can also use Robux to buy such items as clothing accessories and simulated gestures from their avatar marketplace. Roblox retains a portion of every Robux transaction and distributes the rest to its developers and creators. Users can buy Robux in two ways, as either a one-time purchase or through Roblox Premium, a subscription service that is billed monthly and includes access to exclusive in-experience benefits, discounted marketplace items, and the ability to buy, sell, and trade certain avatar items. To capture that revenue, Roblox accepts payments through app stores, credit cards, and prepaid cards. Okay, so that's the background on the company and its product, as well as some user statistics. So let's move on and talk about how the company is executing from a financial perspective. Let's start with revenue, where it grew 139% in the year ended December 31st, 2018, and grew another 56% to $488 million in 2019. And then more recently, revenue surged 82% to just under $1 billion, coming in at $923.9 million by the end of 2020. Now you've probably come to a conclusion as to why growth was so strong this past year, and we'll come back to that. And then looking at the company from an overall net income basis, the company is unprofitable and has reported net losses every year since their inception. Using the data reported in the filing from fiscal year 2018 to 2019, Roblox actually did cut their net losses down by over 10% to $86 million. However, their net losses grew substantially through 2020, reaching a loss of over $253 million, so the trend from the previous year wasn't able to be maintained. Looking at the data, you can see that there have been some big jumps in the payments to developers, and that those have almost tripled in 2020 from 2019 levels. We also see some higher percentages of expense growth in research and development categories in the same time period as compared to the increase from fiscal year 2018 to fiscal year 2019. So that's where they're at right now. Looking forward, Roblox has 4 key growth strategies they're focusing on. The first is on further extending the platform by investing in high-fidelity avatars, more realistic experiences, 3D spatial audio technology, and other social features. The second strategy is in expanding its age demographic by creating higher quality experiences and content that appeals to an older audience or demographic. The third area is expanding its international reach, particularly in China through a joint venture with powerhouse Tencent. And finally, they believe that there's significant potential to increase monetization on their platform, and they feel they can do this by working with their developer community and by continuing to grow Roblox Premium, which again is their subscription service. Now, they have resisted the use of overt advertising on the platform. However, they are looking at the possibilities of enhancing revenue by product placements. Sort of like what you see in a movie where no one actually tells you to buy a Coke, but you can clearly see that the actor is holding one. Now, in their way to that growth is a whole host of competition. Roblox itself lists global gaming companies such as Activision Blizzard, EA or Electronic Arts, Take-Two, Valve, Unity Software, and Zynga as their competitors. And then just for attracting and retaining users' attention, they also list competitors such as Facebook, Tencent, Disney, Netflix, Spotify, and yes, even YouTube. And also something else to consider is the competition for attracting developers to continually make new content so that the platform can keep evolving. And in that aspect, Roblox considers Unity, Epic Games, and Valve Corporation as primary competitors. Before I get to sharing some of my own personal thoughts on investing in Roblox, let's talk about details of how they will actually go public. As I mentioned earlier, they made the decision to go with a direct listing versus a traditional IPO. I'm not going to repeat everything from the last video on direct listings here, so if you're interested in hearing more about them in general and also as to why Roblox made the decision, check out that video. Again, it'll be linked for you in the description. As of now, and you guys that follow the channel know that these things can change, particularly with Roblox, but right now, the Roblox direct listing looks to happen on Wednesday, March 10th. And when it starts to trade, you'll find Roblox stock under the ticker RBLX. Now, because it is a direct listing, there is no IPO price, and in fact, there is no IPO, so institutional investors won't have a first crack at it, theoretically, before any of us. Now, while an IPO price is not something most of us can get the stock at for popular companies once it starts trading anyway, think of Snowflake and Airbnb as recent examples. There is a benefit to knowing that IPO price number because it's the price that the big investment banks value the stock at to the point where they would buy it. And there's something to be said for seeing what these people that value companies for a living would value Roblox at. So without that number, we have to come up with our own expectations. Now, Roblox will list a reference price where they think the stock will open, but that number really doesn't mean anything because, again, unlike at an IPO, nobody actually bought that stock at that price on the eve of public trading. It's just a guess. Well, it's more than that actually. It's more of an educated guess, and most likely the reference price will be set to or close to where the stock was last bought in the private market. Now, I've talked about this in previous videos, but for those of you who hadn't seen them, when Roblox switched from an IPO to a direct listing, they decided to hold a round of private fundraising to raise more capital since they weren't going to get new cash from the direct listing itself. And at the fundraising round, they sold shares at $45. Keep that number in mind for two reasons. One is because that number will likely be where Roblox sets the reference price, or at least real close. And two, because it will give us a valuation number, which we're going to talk about when it comes to deciding what we might want to pay for Roblox. So with the fundraising round, with the shares having sold for $45, that would leave Roblox with a valuation of around $29 billion. Now for some perspective, last February, just a year earlier, the company sold shares for $6.34, leaving them valued at $4 billion. So in less than a year's time, the company's valuation has jumped sevenfold, driven by those huge revenue growth numbers. I'm going to come back to this in a minute because it'll help us discuss what price it might make sense to buy Roblox stock at. But typically, I like to think about a company in general as if the company makes sense to me at any price. And I did that in my reviews of both Airbnb and DoorDash. For example, with Airbnb, I told you it's a stock I would want to own, albeit at a good price. But with DoorDash, I shared with you that the company and its business model didn't make sense to me, so I wouldn't buy. And I gave you my own reasons for why I felt that way for both companies. And I told you that it's just my personal opinion, not that you should or shouldn't buy for yourself. Now I will tell you up front, Roblox is a company I like. In fact, I told you that on the follow-up video I did on the 7 big companies we were expecting to come out in early 2021. Obviously, I like the revenue growth, but I also really like their product. Not because I use it, but because I understand it. As a kid in the 80s and 90s, I get gaming. It's a product that can be very exciting, fun, and something you can do by yourself or with your friends. And it also can be very addicting, which may not be so good. In fact, it's one of the reasons I don't play games anymore. It was almost an obsession with me. You might not be able to tell this about me from watching my videos, but I'm very competitive and I want to win. And I want to beat the game. And not in 2 weeks, but today. So I just don't get started in the first place anymore. Now luckily, most people aren't like me where they can go to bed at a reasonable time, whereas I would be up at 3 a.m. thinking if I could try this, I could beat it. Anyways, my point is that Roblox is a product that once it gets people to the platform, it keeps them. And I think of gaming as more of a lifestyle activity instead of a pure stay-at-home economy activity, so I think they will be able to maintain the majority of users they gained from the pandemic. I also like how Roblox is expanding its reach in both demographics and geography. As to demographics, they are looking to attract older users, not just by more age-appropriate games, but by opening up more novel experiences like virtual concerts and conferences. And then for geography, they're getting into the huge market in China by partnering with an affiliate of Tencent. Now, one thing to consider is the competition, and it's an industry with a ton of it, and it keeps evolving. However, to stay fresh, I like the big developer network Roblox has amassed, with what I would have to guess is a friendly-to-use Roblox studio to get the millions of people willing and being able to make new games for the platform. Obviously, they need to be high quality, and one of the things Roblox is looking to do is to really focus more on engagement, particularly with monetization in order to drive that quality. Now, of course, that comes with a cost because you have to pay those developers, but if the developers continue to find ways to monetize their games or experiences, both they and Roblox win. And so while I know it's not optimal that Roblox has been around for quite a while and has yet to make a profit, but they seem to be putting their money in the right places, and even if you call 2020's growth an anomaly because of the pandemic, if they could continue to grow at revenue at or even close to pre-pandemic levels, I do, at least myself, see a path to profitability. So for me, I think there's a lot to like about buying Roblox stock. As many of you know, I'm not willing to chase if it's priced high, although for companies that I like, I'm willing to pay a little bit more of a premium. Key part of that statement being a little more. As for Roblox, I want to share some thoughts I have as to where buying the stock at what price makes sense to me. And I'm going to look at it in two ways. First, by considering what Roblox's stock was going for recently on the private market, and then second, I'll look at where a fairly similar company is valued at. Alright, so as far as to on the private markets, I mentioned earlier that the stock was recently bought at $45 per share at the most recent fundraising round. And you tend to think that the people that have access to buy the stock are probably professionals and very experienced at this, so you feel like they probably have a good idea as to what the Roblox valuation is, give or take. And at that price they bought the shares, that gave the company a valuation of about $29 billion. Now typically, I look at where the company trades on the private market before they go public and give it a bump. Because I realize that once a company goes public, the value of the stock goes up because of increased liquidity, meaning it's easier to sell the shares because you have a lot more potential buyers on the public markets as compared to on the private markets. Now as to what the percentage bump is, I don't have an exact number, but I find myself considering a 15 to 20% jump usually reasonable for most companies. However, I'm not so sure I would give Roblox stock that big of a jump from that recent private sales share price just because of the fact that when they held that last fundraising round, it was right after Roblox pulled their IPO, so everyone and their mother buying those shares knew that Roblox was going public in the very near future, and because of that understanding and awareness, I would feel like they priced a typical liquidity bump in. Now that's just my opinion, and again, you never know what the stock will actually go for because of the popularity it has. But before I get to a number, I want to consider valuation and then compare it to where a similar company is valued. Now while there's always an argument as to why two companies aren't the same because of underlying business models and financials, I still wanted to find a company that I felt was at least close, and so I decided to compare Roblox with Unity Software. And I picked Unity because not only of them both being gaming companies, but because they also compete for developers. So to pick a valuation measure to compare both companies with, I'm going to look at the price to sales or PS ratio. Obviously there are other valuation measures you could use, but price to sales is a pretty common one and it's fairly easy to understand, as you simply just take the market cap and divide it by the sales. So when looking at Unity Software, and you take its market cap of $25.66 billion as of this recording, and divide it by its 2020 sales of $772,445, you get a price to sales ratio of 33.2. Now as to Roblox, if we take its market cap of approximately $29 billion, based on the $45 share price of the last round of fundraising that probably will be its reference price, and divide it by its 2020 sales, which as we said earlier is about $924 million, then we get a price to sales ratio of 31.4. So that's real close to where Unity is, and just a tad below. Now this isn't an exact science and there's rounding errors, but if you expected Roblox to trade similar to where Unity is from a valuation perspective, a share price of about $46.50 could be justified. And if you really like Roblox and think it has more going for it than Unity, then you could probably justify paying a little bit more for it. Then of course, if you felt that Unity was a better company, then maybe you decide you wouldn't pay the premium for Roblox. Now of course, just because we can come up with a price, that doesn't mean that's where it will trade, but it can give you an idea if you're trying to come up with a number that makes sense for you, other than just picking it out of thin air. The nice thing about a Roblox direct listing versus a traditional Roblox IPO is that there are no lockup agreements, meaning virtually all the shares could potentially be available. And this is good because it could ensure that a better potential supply of shares, whereas with a traditional IPO, you may only have a float of about 15 to 20% of total or outstanding shares out there, where when there's a demand for a popular company, an artificially or temporarily set limited supply could drive the price up higher than it might otherwise be. Of course, there's always the potential for the stock to come out hot only to dip later, but there's never a guarantee as to what will actually happen. So what should you do? Now anyone that's watched me for a while knows I won't tell you what to do or what I expect the price to be since I don't have the ability to predict the future. I say this all the time, but if I was born with that talent, I would definitely share that information with my community. The most I hope to do for you is to pull in the information and try to share it with you in an easy to understand manner and share some of my own personal thoughts on it, and I hope you find value in that. At the end of the day, I always trust you to know what's best for you to do with your money based on your own personal thoughts and situation. So having said that, what do you think about Roblox? Are you buying in at any price just because you like them? Or is there a max price you're willing to buy them at? Let me know in the comments. I always like to know what all of you guys are thinking. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please press that like button and share with your friends and on any of your social media sites and forums you're on. Anything you can do to help me grow the channel is greatly appreciated. And again, if you're new to the channel, I wanted to follow up. Did you enjoy what we did here? If you did, we'd love to have you join the community. It's totally free. You just got to press that little red subscribe button. We'd love to have you on board. Until next time, thank you for watching and have a great day.